Hello everyone and welcome back to History with Hilbert. Now today I'm going to be talking about the history and symbolism behind the Confederate flag. Now many people would describe this flag as the flag of the Confederacy, but in all actuality they would be wrong. These are in fact the national flags of the Confederate States of America from 1861 to 1865, and in this video I'm going to be looking at each of them and the symbolism behind them. Now this flag that is often called the Confederate flag is in fact the Confederate Battle Flag, and there is indeed a distinction to be made. In fact, the first design to be made for the Confederate flag was this one, and it was adopted in 1861 after the southern states of the United States of America seceded from the rest of the Union. Now this flag was called the Stars and Bars, and like the northern counterpart, the Stars and Stripes, which had been the American flag before the South seceded, it had a lot of similar features. Now like this flag, it had stars representing the different states. 13 stars were eventually added, although two of the states, Missouri and Kentucky, is debatable whether they were proper Confederate states, as they only were claimed rather than actually being part of the Confederacy. However, the Stars and Bars wasn't particularly popular for several reasons. One of the reasons was that it was very similar to the Stars and Stripes, which was actually why it had been designed that way. To begin with, many Southerners didn't want to get rid of the old Union flag. They felt that this was as much their flag as it was the Northern flag, which again hints a little bit towards the original reasons for the secession, but I'll get into that in a different topic. However, as the war went on in 1861 at the First Battle of Bull Run, when the flags were hanging limp, they were often very easy to mix up, and obviously confusion in battle is not something you want to happen. A lot of Confederates actually preferred this design, the one which is a lot more famous today, the Confederate Battle Flag, and designs similar to this were used by the Virginian Infantry and various other regiments as battle flags, obviously the colours carried into battle, rather than the official state flags. Now, when this was getting all too much for the Confederates, they decided in 1863 to swap out their flag, and instead of choosing this flag, they actually designed another one, this one. Now this one was called the Stainless Banner, and it obviously had a little square in the corner with the Virginian battle flag on it, and the rest of the field was plain white. But this also had problems. Again, if the flag hung limp, it could often be confused with a surrender flag, which was obviously a flag of truce, which was just the completely white flag, because if the canton's hidden and the flag is limp, you can't see it, so it would look like they were giving up, which obviously wasn't what they wanted to convey. In 1865, in the closing months of the war, the Confederacy decided it once again had to change its flag. And in vain of this, they decided to create this radically different flag to the one that had come before. This one they named the Blood-Stained Banner, the only change being the red stripe on one end, and officially the canton was changed shape as well, although in the end months of the war most guys never actually saw this flag. It was an official change, and the canton, they usually just used the same format as the one before and just added a red bit to the end because it was easier. Now you might be wondering, why did they add a red bit to the end? Well, this was again so that when it was hanging limp you wouldn't confuse it for a surrender flag, and also because the red was a symbol of the French, which also had a red stripe on it. The French were also a republic. The French had also helped the United States of America in their battle against tyranny against the British, so this was sort of the symbolism, as well as maybe being an homage to the French, many of whom had settled in the South in areas like Louisiana, Mississippi. There were a lot of French origin settlers there, so that's sort of why they added in the red for the French. Now if we break down the Confederate battle flag, then you see that in the largest part of the middle you have a blue saltire with the 13 stars of the Confederate states on there, although again some of these states were only claimed states rather than actually belonging to the Confederacy, which was surrounded by red on all sides. Now the shape is called a saltire, and it's actually a St. Andrew's cross, and this comes from the flag of Scotland. Now most likely it comes from the flag of Scotland, possibly it was also from the Burgundian cross or the flag of Alabama, which is based on the Burgundian cross because of the Spanish, but it was probably based on the Scottish saltire because a lot of the people fighting for the Confederacy had obviously come from Scotland. Their ancestors had come from there. So for example, a very famous example of that would be Robert E. Lee. His family was Scottish. And of course afterwards you also get the Ku Klux Klan. They're not named Klan for no reason, obviously it's spelled with a K, but it's also because of the Scottish. And what do? They burn crosses, and burning crosses also goes back to a Scottish, a Gaelic tradition, which by the way didn't have anything to do with scaring black people. It was totally unrelated, but they thought it looked kind of menacing, which I guess it did. Now of course today, in light of recent events and the subsequent history of the South after the Civil War, the Confederate flag remains a controversial piece of symbolism. It's also used by people to commemorate fallen soldiers, but probably the battle flag, in my view, should probably be the least controversial flag used by the Confederacy, because the battle flag was the soldier's flag, the flag of the common guy who probably didn't own any slaves. Most of the soldiers fighting for the South didn't own slaves. The stainless banner was, by its creator, a man named Thompson, actually called the white man's flag, and when explaining the purpose of the white background he actually said, "As a people we are fighting to maintain the heaven-ordained supremacy of the white man over the inferior or coloured race. A white flag would thus be emblematic of our cause." So as you can see, this flag clearly has designs which come from racist principles, whereas the battle flag is more of a soldier's flag, which was used by soldiers fighting for the Confederacy, which I thought was just interesting, because a lot of the time that's the flag that people object to, and if you showed them the other one they might not know what it was. But this is just something that I found interesting. Now of course in recent times, with, for example, in South Carolina, with the flag being taken down from the state capital, it's clearly still a controversial topic that divides people today. But that's why I think this is quite an interesting topic to make a video on. Now please do leave a comment in the comment section below. Please do be civil and have good reasoned discussion. That's what my channel's for. That's why I make slightly more controversial videos like these, because I find it very interesting to see different people's points of views, but I do ask that you remain respectful of other people when you are commenting. So thank you very much for watching. I am of course History with Hilbert. If you're interested to watch any more of my videos, then there are links and cards and other things, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you are new. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon.